That doesn't look right.
Hey everyone, I'm Nick, and welcome to the channel. Today we're working on my 2007 supercharged Range Rover. The issue I've been having is that when I park it for a couple of days and come back, it has a weak battery when I go to start it, or if I wait a little too long, I just can't start it at all. So the reason why that's happening is because I have a parasitic drain on my electrical system. So in this video, I'm going to figure out where the drain is coming from and see what I can do to fix it. So let's get to it. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is get to the battery. So we're going to be using our contactless ammeter. Since we're looking for low voltage, we'll go to the 2 amp setting. We'll switch it over to DC because it's in AC mode right now. And then you can zero it. We'll probably get a small reading from just ambient stuff. And we're looking at this cable right here. We can check this one, but it should have 0 because that goes to the starter. So we're pretty low here. I'll check over here as well. That's effectively 0. But this is the side that goes inside this cover that goes into everything in the car. So let's see. Pop that on here. Whew, wow, that's pretty high still. Okay, so I am reading 0.19. That is quite a bit. 0.1, like 187 milliamps, which means that we are getting a pretty big drain. We want that to be around like 30 milliamps, so we want this to be like 0.03. Right now, obviously, we're getting some ambient stuff. 0.16. Okay, 0.16. We have a ballpark. We want to get that down as low as possible so that, you know, we're not getting a drain that's constant. Now, something to keep in mind is every time you open a door, it's going to start doing stuff with the electrical system, so you want to make sure that you give it a rest, and you can double check here. That's why I like using this, because you don't have to disconnect the battery, you don't have to wait for things to settle again every time, and it's a little easier. Now, let's go to the back, because we'll start in the trunk and we'll start checking the fuses, and I'll show you what I'm going to be using to test each fuse a lot faster than actually removing them, coming here and checking, and a lot of back and forth. All right, so we are in the trunk here, and we're going to, on the right side, pull this panel out. So you just grab that, pull the top out, lift that up, and we can look here. So, got a set of fuses right here. They are marked over here. We have relays we won't be worrying about, and a couple big fuses that shouldn't be anything we need to worry about either. So these are all labeled right here. And this is important because each truck can have variations, so there's not really a good single reference. So you always want to double check what's around here. So as we can see, if we zoom in a bit, we've got cigarette lighters, trailer system, parking brake. These are all entertainment related. It's got the headphones and the unit, so that might be something. Rear seat blower, probably traction control, door locks. So, but we'll make our way through. We'll check all of them so we find out what's going on. So what I'm going to be using to test these is the Hound 2. And what this allows me to do is just clip this onto each fuse, and that'll actually tell me, is there a current that I need to investigate? And if so, I can actually change the mode in here and actually read an estimation of what the current is at that fuse, so on that circuit, without actually removing the fuse. So let's get started. Now you can use the clip-on probe or the actual like pointy probes like these. I'm just going to use the clip-on. We're going to turn this on here. I'm going to start back here. So when it beeps once and shows zeros, it means there's no current. Oh, 0.01. Yeah, I'm going to keep a running tally here. So fuse, actually, let's go back to fuse F5, which was the wiper. I'm going to double check that again. Nope, that's 0. That's also 0. Okay, yeah, 0. Okay, these are zeros. 0. Alright, so this one is reading something. We're looking at one of the entertainment fuses. Now we're going to switch this over into amperage measurement. So we go to fuse type here. We're a standard fuse. Standard fuse value 30. Press and hold. .06. Okay. That is fuse F9. Let's mark that down. That is nearly half of what we're looking for. Okay, now we can pop this off. If you're having difficulty with the clip type, the grabbers, you can also switch to the probes. Okay, if you want to power it off, you just hit fuse type and fuse value together. Start this back up. I'm going to get the probes. And to connect these, you just plug in the black lead into the black port. Red one in there. And touch it to the... Okay, nothing. 0. So we've got to F11. F12 is the last entertainment fuse. 0. This is a ride height. 0. 15 is rear AC. 0. 0 on the trunk lid. Last one is door lock system. Okay. Let's see. Fuse type. Standard fuse 5. Yeah, 0, 0. Okay, that's low. I think that's low enough. But we're most interested in F9, so we'll have to look into what that goes to. So that is a good find already, and it is pointing to the entertainment, which I kind of expect. So it's a good start. Now let's go look in the glove box, and hopefully we'll find something in there too. Actually, one thing we can test, maybe we should test, is what happens if we pull fuse 9. This can actually be used to pull fuses out. There we go. And we're going to see how that looks up front. Yeah, now we're rating 115, 116 milliamps. That's 60 less. It's a good start. We'll have to figure out what that circuit goes to, whether we need it, which we probably do, and what we can do to address it. Now we're going to keep looking in the passenger glove box, and hopefully we'll make some more progress. And so right here, we're opening the lower glove box. Okay, so now we want to get the glove box lowered. You'll see I already pulled the panel off, but right here, there's a little arm right here, and to release the glove box, what we want to do is you want to push inwards. So you can see right there, there's a little catch there, and we want to lift up, push it in so it'll release, and then the glove box will come down further. This clips on in there, and inside we have full detail of what each fuse does or what system it's tied to, and we're going to work our way through. I have heard recommendations that you want to tape down the light little switch here so it doesn't drain anything and you don't get mixed results, but it looks like it's off right now because I think the doors have been open long enough. So that is good. And we'll do the same thing. We'll work our way through. There's a lot more fuses here, but I have a suspicion that we will probably be looking at a something like fuse 22, which is another entertainment icon. So we'll work our through. Could also be 49, 40, but we'll see. We'll work our way through and we'll find out what we need to work on. Okay. Okay. F49 right here. .04 amps. That accounts for 100, which would bring us down to 60 total. Okay. I'm gonna check these big ones back here. Okay, we found and accounted for 100 milliamps, so 0.1 amp. We saw 60 something up on the power cable. So, and the fuse I found an issue on here is fuse 49, which is rear seat entertainment or radio stuff, which is in line with what we saw at the back. So what we're going to do next is we're going to work in here, and I've read after some research that there may have been moisture or water in here that could have caused some surface nastiness on the PCBs and some of the modules. So we're going to pull this stuff out and inspect it. Unfortunately, we have two fuses that have a draw. They're both related to the entertainment system, radio, nav, and finding resources or any information on which systems are tied to those fuses has been very difficult. So the best bet, I think, is going to be to just pull this out and then inspect things. And maybe as I unplug modules, I can check the fuses and get an idea. One of my suspicions is that the fuse in the trunk, which is a 30 amp, may be the fuse for the amplifier itself. And all the other modules could be for the front screen and some of the other, like nav. So we will see. So the first thing we're going to do is, I guess I'll just pop this on for now. I'm going to pull the floor up because we're going to access the lower parts of those modules, and it'll be easier when we remove this. So we're going to take this out. We're going to take this panel out, and that way we'll have better access down here. This stuff can come out right now pretty much, but for this panel we're going to remove this here. So now you see this bag in here, like this sheet? This is actually to protect from water ingress. So in the past, apparently in the 2006 and earlier, this wasn't in place necessarily, and moisture would get into this area and damage the modules. Now it's a little hard to tell. I can't tell if that's glue or moisture that was in there, but it's possible that moisture got in anyway, especially over the past 23 years. So that's why we're going to take a look. I'm going to take this panel off here. These just twist out, and the bottom one here is a Allen head 6. Taking this off before, but what's going on? There we go. That looks like the adhesive, not water. Okay, then in here we have 3 10mm nuts. I'm going to take this off as well back here just to get a little more movement. So there's one thing I thought of before I do anything else. This is the Nokia phone module, and what I'm going to do is actually unplug it and just see and test the fuses again and see what happens. Because I guess there's a chance that, I don't need this module. I'm not going to, my phones have come a long way. We don't really need that. And if you're worried about the MOST loop, so there's a fiber optic system called MOST, and when you remove a module, it operates as a whole loop. So if you remove a module, you have to be able to bypass that so that it's still a complete loop, because it's light signals, and if a module is not responding, nothing works. So we're going to grab this here. I have a pair. One is male, one is female, and we'll grab the right one. So it's a cam lock type connector, I think. Pop that out. Pop this connector out. And then we're going to pop this fiber optic out. And we're just going to plug this in right here. I'm actually not going to turn the system on, but we're going to test it. We're going to put it in here as if it were the issue. So now I'm going to go test the fuse up front, and then I'll test the fuse in the trunk. 0.03. Okay, so that's not really, that doesn't seem like it's it. Okay, we got to keep searching. It seems like it's lower, but it still has a draw. I'm going to go check up front. Nope, no change. Okay, so that module is not the issue. That's good. At least good to know. So, I guess this wasn't really necessary for that test, but it's a good way to know. but we can plug this back in here. Okay, well, next step is going to be to pull this out, and we'll keep moving. Okay, so to remove this, we have two 10mm nuts and then four 8mm bolts here. You know what, before I do that, I'm actually going to unplug this again. By the way this works is this is a cam lock here, and to release it, there's a little tab right here to push down, and it'll slide out, or this will pivot back and let this come out. Now, one thing you'll probably notice is I have a box here. This is the nav tool interface to add Android Auto and Apple CarPlay to the factory screen. There's a possibility it could be that. Get those out too. Grab this, slide it forward, and tilt it out of the way. Now, one thing I'm going to do is actually unplug the satnav, and I guess by extension the nav toolbox, and then I'm going to check the fuses again, or at least I'm going to check it at the battery. So, pop that out. There we go. This is a piggyback harness. Now I'm going to go check up front. Ooh, 0.06. Maybe we found the problem. Okay, 0.1. So 108 milliamp. That would be, yeah, that would be most of it. Certainly better, certainly better. Let's see, I gotta figure out which fuse that's on. That's reading as no drain. Okay, so it's our sat nav. Okay, so since we're reading no drain on that fuse, that means there might be an issue in the sat nav unit. So let's find out. I'm gonna do one more thing here. I'm actually gonna remove the piggyback harness from the nav tool and plug this in directly, and then we'll double check. If the drain comes back, then we'll know that it's just this module. Okay, so I've tested this plugged in directly, and it looks like this module is not drawing excessive power, but the piggyback harness with the nav tool is drawing about something noticeable. Anyway, it is one of the drains, so that is good to know, but a little disappointing. Okay, 0.06. All right, since there's a drain on that side, and it's an entertainment system fuse, and it's 30 amps, I'm wondering if it's possible that it's the amplifier. So I'm going to unplug that. Let me hang this back up into place. One thing we're looking at down here is the power plug for it. So in here, we have a gray plug right there. Right there with a red and a brown wire. That's the plug for our amplifier. So what I'm going to do is reach down there and unplug that. That is out. And I'm going to test that fuse on the other side again. Nothing. Okay, I'm going to go check up front. Let's go see. What can it be? about 30 milliamps. That is it. So it looks like the amplifier back there has something going on, maybe a grounding issue. We'll go get it and open it up. And the interface, the add-on interface, seems to be just at idle, draining power. So, well, at least we know. Maybe with just the amp unplugged and the other box back in, it'll be low enough that we'll be in a good enough spot. We'll find out. Okay, so we've definitely identified that the amplifier is a source of power drain, and also this box, it seems. I'm going to plug this back in, and we're going to see if how much it jumps back up. There we go. Now it's booting up, so that's definitely drawing power right now. I'm going to check up front again. 0.069, 0.06. Okay, that's reasonable. Ideally, we'd like to be around the 30 milliamps total, which was good. 60 to 70 with that box. It's still going to be significantly better than the 160 or 170 we were seeing. So for now, I'm going to leave that plugged in. We're going to look at the amplifier, and hopefully there we'll find something that needs to be cleaned up, and we can keep going, and that should address the issue. All right, let's pull this out antenna here. We want that out. Okay, prop it out of the way there. Now we have to remove the, oh yeah, there's moisture down there, look. If we look here, you see those two nuts? You got some rust on them. That means there was moisture in the area. Not necessarily in the amp, but potentially enough moisture around it that something happened inside the casing. So we'll find out. I guess we need to, we got two nuts over there, two nuts right here that are rusty. And I think those two in the middle by the Sirius module. And then we should be able to lift this out. Now if you're working here, just be careful of fiber optics. You can't bend them. If you bend them too far, they'll get damaged and the signal won't travel through correctly anymore. Okay, I think I'm gonna pop this fiber optic cable out. There's another one in the amplifier. I'm gonna pop this out too. Pop the connections out of the amp also. All right, I'm gonna unplug this one here. There's a tiny little one right there for the Sirius XM. Pull this up and out and get that connector out. Ooh, got it. So right here is the amp is mounted on the back, which is means you have to take all this out. So these are 8s. We're gonna pop those out, and then the whole assembly pops out of here. Oh, look, already a sign right here. There, something's going on. All right, so as you can see, the inputs are all color-coded, so that's good. And we're gonna open these up. These are T10s. Interesting. Got a little bit of something in there. Definitely have to clean that off. All right, let's see. Does this come up? Here we got a little bit of corrosion here. Looks like it's just this area. Oh, that's still sticky. Okay. Yeah, there's like some sort of thermal paste. And we're gonna clean that up here. This could be causing some grounding issues, so I'm gonna figure out what we should use to clean it. All right, so I've got some contact cleaner, electronic cleaner. We're gonna try that. I got a toothbrush. I'm gonna scrub very gently. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna try to put a little bit on the bristles. Okay. Next, I used isopropyl alcohol and some Q-tips to clean up the PCB a little more. Alright, so it looks much better now, so we're gonna put this back in. There we go. Make sure to clean this off first. And just push this back down. Now let's go put it back in and find out if that fixed it. It'll only fit one way because the holes are aligned in such a way that it can only fit in one way. Just snug them up. If you're curious about a torque spec for these screws, I did see that ballpark is 10 Newton meters for the ones that mount the plate, so I would guess these are similar. Now we can drop this back in. So we got our 4 screw holes. Might actually vacuum in there a little bit, maybe. You can see a little bit of surface rust in there. So water has, or moisture has gotten in here. I guess, you know, now that I look at it, if you wanted to just take the plate off once you have the whole bracket out, you could just work with it from here, since, you know, you wouldn't need to unmount it for the heatsink to stay in. So that's an option too. I'll do a quick vacuum in there. Looks good, just a little bit of rust dust. Now before I bolt it down, I'm gonna make all the connections again. So I'm gonna start with the power plug on the amp. It's gonna work bottom to top. Then the green connector, and the gray connector. There's a black plug, but I don't have anything for that. No, right, that's the, I've been looking for a connector with wires, but it's the fiber optic. Okay, so that's plugged in. Let's get the fiber optic in here. Let's go take a look at the power draw. Now, since I just reconnected this, I'm actually gonna hang everything back into place, make sure it's all plugged in, and we'll see if this is like not completely powered down yet, which is entirely possible since I just plugged it back in. So some systems may be trying to communicate for a little bit. So let's see. You know what? I'm gonna bolt this back in. Okay, now I can hang this back up. Make sure this fiber optic line is in the right place. Put the Nokia module back in and its fiber optic wire. All right, so I'm gonna open a door, close the door, and see, you know, that should power cycle everything. And I'll let it settle down for 30 minutes. Now, a good preference is the inside lights. These lights will power down after a while, but until they do, we're probably not completely settled down. So right now, if I go check, it's probably, the systems are probably drawing more than 2 amps. So we'll just have to wait. All right, I've waited about a little more than 30 minutes, but that's off. I'm gonna go check up front. Pop this back into 2 amp DC. I've also been zeroing it in the same place every time. Okay, let's see how we did. Ah, 0.88, 85, 86. Yeah, that's way better. That's like, we cut it down by half. Oops. We've cut, oh, now it's reading 1. It depends kind of how you angle it. But yeah, 80 something. That's half the draw we used to have. So it's a little bit higher than I would like, but it is a big improvement. Now, so far it seems like the result is a pretty big improvement. And we're gonna check here. We're gonna do a read on that fuse 9. Oh, that reads 0. That says 0. That says 0. That's good. So it seems like we've adjusted the amp. Now, am I going to come back in here later and see if there's more? Yeah, maybe. We can check that in the future. But for now, I think it's a good enough improvement. So our next step is to put all this back together. Slide this back in. Might have to go in there and loosen that hook over here. It'll be easier. Much better. Put our clips back in here. And we got our trim panel right here. All right, and our last step is going to be to put the floor back in. Oh, and that cover. There we go. There we go. All right, our last step is to put this back together. You see this cover is actually a little damaged, but it works fine. So, pop it in there, let it hook over the edge, snap it in, bring this back up, watch the hook there, just pops in, and close it up. There we go, all done. And the very last thing I want to do is check that the sound system still works. Sounds great. All right, and that means everything looks good. Awesome. So that's the battery drain fixed, or at the very least, significantly improved. Now, one thing I want to mention is that before unplugging any of the modules, I always made sure that the system was already in the lowest power state, just for a little peace of mind. Another thing I want to mention is that earlier or later L322s may have different looking fuse boxes, but the way we searched for it would work on any vehicle. If you want to get the same tools I used in this video, I'll leave links in the video description. And if you have any questions about the process, let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like. And if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.